Good morning, Treasure Coast. This is TCPalm's Wednesday morning update of Hurricane Ian's impact on Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin counties. I'm Adam Neal, the executive editor of TCPalm and Treasure Coast newspapers. Joining me today is Blake Fontenay, the community engagement columnist here, and Larry Reisman, who's our community editor and columnist. We want to provide residents with some local storm updates and things that we know so far, as well as really what's to expect here across the Treasure Coast for the next 12 to 24 hours. And if you have any specific questions, please put them into the comment section in Facebook or YouTube, where we're live in both places. And we can try to answer them throughout this broadcast. So we do want to start with the 11 o'clock update that was just released from the National Hurricane Center. And the National Hurricane Center is saying that Ian is a very strong Category 4 hurricane with winds of up to 155 miles per hour. And that is just really 2 miles per hour short of a Category 5 hurricane. So it's a very, very strong hurricane. And it's just off the coast of Southwest Florida right now. And it's expected to make landfall probably around Fort Myers in the next hour or two. So what that means for the Treasure Coast is we can continue to see increased rain bands coming here throughout the afternoon and evening. If you're looking right now and watching us live, you'll see that we're getting a little break from those morning feeder bands that came through, dumped a little bit of rain. But what the National Hurricane Center and what the National Weather Service is predicting is that we will be getting more bands come through throughout the day today. And the winds will start increasing anywhere from, we've seen 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gust, all the way up to probably 60 mile per hour wind gust, which is tropical storm. The Treasure Coast right now continues to be under a tropical storm warning, and we will continue throughout the day. We're also under a tornado watch, and we will continue to be through most of the afternoon and evening. If you've been watching the weather, we've been seeing that we've had a few tornado warnings that have come through the Treasure Coast. Really all three counties, Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin, has had one at some point this morning. And although we don't have any now, the meteorologists are expecting that there may be more. So we just need to keep our eyes out for that. We have seen some flood warnings that have come out throughout the Treasure Coast. We are expecting 4 to 7 inches of rain for the Treasure Coast. The predictions have been about 2 to 4 already so far from midnight to right now, and then even more coming throughout the afternoon and evening. TCPalm has journalists that have spanned all across the Treasure Coast. We're out there reporting any impacts. Luckily, right now, we've had some really minor impacts, which is what expected, but we want to make sure that we're going to be reporting on anything that does come up. So I do want to start with Larry Reisman, who's been in Indian River County. He's been driving around along with some of our reporters and photographers, just assessing damage, assessing any floods that we've had. And I want to turn it to Larry to talk about what he's seen.
Thanks, Adam. I got out this morning. I was pretty shocked by the amount of rain we had at our house in the south part of the county. Our swales were pretty full. Not quite Francis and Jean-like or anything, nothing like that really. But there was a lot of rain. I was kind of surprised. And as I drove around, I thought I'd see more, but 27th Avenue in the south part of the county, a lot of times that road will be underwater with a heavy rain, and it wasn't underwater. The swells are getting pretty full. As you get into off 6th Avenue there's some standing water in the roadway, and I've seen some video. I shot some video of, cars going through it, spraying water. But, honestly, it's nothing really bad. When you go into some of the Rock Ridge neighborhood between US 1 and Indian River Boulevard, that's traditionally, over the years, Francis and Jean and some of the other hurricanes that we've had where we don't get a whole lot of the storm, but we get enough. And there's still flooding in that neighborhood. A couple of the roads are somewhat underwater, but nothing really deep. There's standing water in some of the yards. But I talked to one of the neighbors there, whose house I'd been to several years ago to write about because it had been flooded several inches high. He's not too concerned. He had a little bit of water in the driveway, and that was about it. But there are some houses there that are a little wet. But hopefully, hopefully we won't get enough water to affect any homes. Downtown was relatively quiet. It wasn't dead, but there was a lot of activity. The Goodyear store was cranking, or Firestone, I guess that is, downtown. They were busy, but then some stores were boarded up. So not a ton of issues down there. I spoke to the sheriff, and Indian River County Sheriff Eric Flowers talked about some localized water, localized flooding. He sent me a picture of the street. It was near the intersection of 61st Street and 62nd Avenue, where part of the road had washed, just sort of like a big pothole had opened up on the side of the road. And the county crews were out there. I did see some county crews driving around near Vero this morning, looking for various things. They had their yellow lights flashing. So, hopefully not too much worse. It looks like the radar is looking pretty good for this afternoon. Nothing like we had early this morning or late last night. So, I'm sure as the storm starts to kick across towards us, we'll start to see the impacts. So that's kind of, I've heard about some flooding up in Sebastian, some very localized flooding in that area. So, but I can't confirm anything. But so that's a little bit about the overview of Indian River County.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. And Indian River County, being is in the northern part of the Treasure Coast, seems to be getting a little bit more than what the southern part of the Treasure Coast is getting. But I want to bring in Blake to talk about what he is seeing and what our reporters are seeing throughout Martin and St. Lucie counties.
Thank you. Yes, obviously we've had a lot of rainfall off and on. I'm here in Martin County and Stewart, and we've had rain off and on throughout the night. We've got a little bit of a break right now, but I'm sure that will change as the day progresses. But there are a few noteworthy things that have come to our attention already. We don't know how this happened, but a man was found face down in standing water. Whether he passed away as a result of any storm related activities or there was some other cause of death, we don't know yet. We've got reporters checking into it. All we know, it was a 34-year-old man, and his body was found along Lost River Road. Also, last night, there was some damage on Southeast Fork River Drive that is suspected of being the result of tornado activity. I don't think we have confirmation on that, but there have been a number of reports to the National Weather Service about tornadoes in the area, and so potentially that was the cause of that, or just high winds. As far as road closures go due to flooding, so far we only have one reported in St. Lucie County at Midway and Torino, and that is due to a lot of water being on the road, no debris or anything that we've been informed. But that's the status with that. In Martin County, you can actually go to their website and look for the road closures that they have. They're not reporting any road closures at this point. There are about a dozen roads in Martin County that they have highlighted as flooded but passable, and one roadway that is flooded and partially passable, and that's Southwest Markle Street at Southwest Citrus Boulevard. So, for updates on that, as the weather changes, as the rains increase, there may be additional flooding that leads to some closures, and martin.fl.us/hurricane will have that information, and I'm sure we'll be updating our viewers and readers on that as we have more information as well. There are 3 shelters open in St. Lucie County. As of 10:40, there were no people in those shelters, but they are open, and I'll provide the information on that just in case there are readers who want to take advantage of the shelters. One of them is for people with special needs, and it is located at the Finn Center, the Harvard L. Finn Center at 2000 Virginia Avenue in Fort Pierce. That's a very sturdy building, according to county spokesman Eric Gill. It's the third strongest building structurally in the county after the nuclear plant and the Emergency Operations Center. So that one is open for people who have special needs. There's a pet-friendly shelter that's opened at Fort Pierce Westwood Academy at 1801 Panther Lane. And then there's a shelter for the general population if you don't fit into one of those other categories that is at Fort Pierce High School at 4101 Southwest 25th Street in Fort Pierce. And if you need help getting to one of those shelters, the county is advising that you call 772-460-HELP. That's 772-460-4357. Or if you need to get to the special needs shelter, you do need to make a reservation there. So you need to call 772-462-1778 and then choose option 1 to make a reservation. So that's kind of an overview. Obviously, there are many closures. Most government offices in St. Lucie and Martin County, those are closed. Beaches, libraries, parks, pretty much everything is shut down. The court system. And so those closures in some cases have already been extended through Thursday. Private businesses, we're tracking those that are telling us about their closures. Obviously, we're not hearing from everyone, but there are a number of businesses that are choosing to close. And I believe in Indian River County, anyway, the public stores were planning to close at noon today. I have not received any information about St. Lucie County and Martin, but it's looking like if you need to get to Publix for a few last minute supplies, the window is closing in the next half hour or so in Indian River County and possibly further south as well. So that's sort of an overview of where we are.
Yeah, that's great, Blake, and thanks for detailing that. And all the stories that Blake and Larry just mentioned, all the topics that we've talked about, everything can be found on TCPalm.com. We have all of our journalists, again, across the Treasure Coast, just trying to make sure that we provide as much information. Luckily for this storm, it looks like that we are going to be spared any hurricane force winds, as they've said, that we're hopefully only going to get tropical storm force winds. We do have the threat of tornadoes, but for the most part, we are going to be in much better shape, obviously, than what our friends across the state down in Southwest Florida are experiencing right now and will experience for the next hour or two. So I encourage everybody to please continue to follow TCPalm. If you have questions, please put a question in the chat. We will be watching it. You can also go to tcpalm.com and put information in the stories, and we will try to look at it and get back to everybody. Blake, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Oh, I was just going to say one additional note about power outages, because that's often a concern in storms like these. And obviously, there may be more to report later in the day as the winds pick up. But at the moment, there were only 370 outages reported in Indian River County, 100 in Martin County, and 90 in St. Lucie County as of 10 o'clock. And that's per Florida Power and Light's website. So far, the power outages are looking good, but again, that's subject to change.
All right, excellent. Well, Blake, Larry, thank you. Our journalists will continue to cover this story, and please stick with tcpalm.com for the latest Treasure Coast news. Thanks, everyone.